My top 10 Dion albums. Introduction. Dion Dimucci, generally known as Dion, is best known for his 19 USA hit singles from the 50s and 60s, and with that record of success he could have just gone onto the golden oldies circuit and never released another LP. Instead, he chose to pursue a 7-decade creative path, producing 42 albums to date, which are well worth investigating by any music fan. Today, I want to select out what I regard as his top 10 albums, starting at number 10. Number 10. Born to Be With You, 1975. This album was identified by Mojo as one of the top 1,000 albums of the 20th century. I often wonder if this is a Dion album or a work by the discredited producer Phil Spector. This comes at the end of Dion's Warner's contract, when he was loaned out to Spector, who chose most of the material, set the sessions' dark atmosphere, and pushed Dion into areas outside his vocal range comfort zone. The outstanding tracks, all ground out by Spector's wall of sound, are Born to Be With You, Make the Woman Love Me, Only You Know, and In and Out of the Shadows. However, in addition to the Spector sessions, it contains 3 folk songs which to my mind do not fit here. One of the best folk songs is Dion's Your Own Backyard, his reflections on his earlier addictions, later covered by Mott the Hoople. Also, note, at the same time as Dion was recording Born to Be With You, Dave Edmunds had a UK hit with it, Their Paths Will Cross Again. The original LP only got a UK release, where it sunk without trace, but was championed by stars such as Pete Townsend. When Ace Records re-released it on CD, it suddenly became an overnight success. Number 9. Heroes, Giants of Early Guitar Rock, 2008. This album is Dion's tribute to guitarists of the 50s and 60s, using songs from the era. Dion uses his own unique styling on each song, covering songs by many of the greats who he had toured with in the 50s. He is ably supported by the guitar skills of Robert Richardson. The only disappointment for me is his version of The Wanderer, which adds nothing to the earlier versions. Number 8. Dion and the Belmonts presenting Dion and the Belmonts, 1959. This is where it all starts. A pretty looking boy band get a minor hit with their second single and then start to tour and release follow-up singles. Their success means brill-building writers are willing to pitch them good songs such as Teenager in Love. A range of hits and studio sessions are then packaged up as their first album. From outtakes of these sessions, we can hear Dion is not just the recipient of guidance from the recording desk, but is making suggestions as to where the music should go. He even gets his first writing credit. The album is not all doo-wop and pop songs. We have one poorly executed country song and even a blues written by Ernie Maresca, who will play a big role in Dion's early solo career. What were their career expectations at that time? 2 years after the hits have dried up, they'd all be back on the production line. To my ears, this record still sounds fresh today. Number 7. Dion and the Belmonts Reunion, live Madison Square Gardens, 1972. Dion and the Belmonts once again reform to perform their hits before Madison Square Gardens, packed to the roof with adoring fans. We get 5 Dion and the Belmonts hits, 5 Dion solo hits, but no Belmonts hit such as Tell Me Why. The Belmonts demonstrate they have no difficulty in being Del Satins for the night. The album meets fans' fixed expectations in a way Together Again did not. For one night, the fans and the group are all teenagers in love again. Carlo's vocals were added later, so it's not a fully live album. The overall group's performance is lifted by the spectacular audience's response. Yes, it's a complete nostalgia fest. Number 6. Dion and the Belmonts, Together Again, 1967. After falling out with Columbia, Dion took the big money offer to jump into bed again with the Belmonts. This might be the same people from the late 50s, but they had all substantially moved on. The LP was self-produced and the group apparently played all the instruments. I must confess that the first time I heard the album, I was confused, because it's not a follow-on from anything the group was well known for, but it does reflect the sounds of the time. Britbeat, garage and psych group sound, the harmonies of the Mamas and the Papas, and the Latin influences of New York. Moving Man is a hard-driving opening track, going into the Latin vocal freakout of Marimba. It jumps from the more Belmont's laid-back sounds of But Not For Me to Dylan's Baby You've Been On My Mind. The album ends on a high with Dion's My Girl in the Month of May, a song picked up by UK pirate radio and London's influential psychedelic club Middle-earth. It was later covered by Richard Thompson on the Bunch album. Despite the write-up on the back of the album saying it was an extension of all the group had done before, most fans rejected it. Me, the more I played it, the more I liked its quirkiness. I feel it was mistitled to draw in old fans and would have been better titled New York City, because it's clearly about urban living in the Big Apple. The strange thing is, we are still awaiting this album's official re-release. In 2002, a bootleg CD was issued, including 3 extra acetate tracks never heard before. So, Dion, the re-release of this rough diamond is way overdue. Number 5. Sweet for Late Summer, 1974. This is Dion's 4th singer-songwriter album. On hot summer nights, I reach for either Santana's Caravanserai or Sweet for Late Summer. As the title implies, this is a suite of songs, all of which contribute to the whole. A concept album, in other words. And it's about somebody who has found peace in the world because drink and drugs problems are behind them. Somebody who is in balance with nature and his family. Somebody who jets out to small gigs where he can talk direct to his fans. Each song contributes to the whole, but no song leaps out as hit single material. So, this artist produces a great album which will appeal to his hardcore fans. But record companies were not looking for albums to just cover costs. They wanted the next million seller, another Tapestry in other words. So this album got lost, and Dion got pressure to move away from singer-songwriter to more sophisticated rock-orientated sounds to attract a bigger audience. But if you want to relax on a hot summer's evening, then I can highly recommend this album to you. Number 4, Kickin Child, 1965 and 2017. Why did fans have to wait half a century to hear this, as Dion and legendary producer Tom Wilson intended? The full story can be found in the album notes, but it essentially comes down to a record company, Columbia, having rigid expectations that artists must remain in their boxes. Dion was channeling all he heard from Dylan and Greenwich Village, and in 1965 would have been in the forefront of the folk rock movement if only the company had got behind him. They even missed the surefire hit single, It's All Over Now Baby Blue, which could have easily launched Dion's career in a new direction. Fans only got to hear tracks from a few under-promoted singles. A cash-in album Wonder Where I'm Bound, then filler tracks on Greatest Hits CDs. We have to thank Norton Records for finally releasing this major folk rock album. Number 3, Blues with Friends 2020. I've got to say, I'm not a fan of duet albums, particularly when put out by ageing stars. But Dion proved on this occasion my reservations were wrong. The superstar names are there all over the front cover, but it quickly becomes clear their role is to support the man, not to compete. All the songs are co-written by Dion, and when he sings the blues, it's his totally unique styling. Outstanding tracks include Blues Coming On with Joe Bonamassa and Song for Sam Cooke with Paul Simon. Most 80-year-olds have long time gone for retirement. Only Dion is still reaching for his peak. Number 2, Yo Frankie 1989. The 80s for Dion were his gospel years, where he issued a number of laid-back religious albums. After a one-off concert at Music City, Arista Records offered Dion the chance to record an album. Yo Frankie is the outcome. Produced by Dave Edmunds with crack studio musicians and a whole load of top-quality songs Dion had been holding back from his gospel output. King of the New York Streets and Written on the Subway Wall are just 2 of the 10 killer tracks. This is the high watermark from what we must now regard as the middle of his career. Number 1, Return of the Wanderer 1978. Dion's Warner career came to an end when his sophisticated record Street Heart did not live up to Warner Brothers' sales expectations. He was, however, left with the crack band who had been formed to promote the record. On the road, the front man and the group had bonded and were not ready to give up. Return of the Wanderer is an album that brings together music from the 50s, 60s and 70s and delivers 10 strong songs with exceptional arrangements for an adult audience. Writing credits are shared by Dion, Bill Toohey, his regular lyricist, and band members. It is a true collective effort. Midtown American Gang is about friendships and how they are moved on. Brooklyn Dodger is a song about love, but for an institution that has been ripped out of the community. So Dion finally delivered the rock album Warner Brothers were looking for. The irony was it came out on the small Lifesong label with limited resources to promote it, so it never got the recognition this masterpiece deserved. Conclusion. So that's my top 10 of Dion's 42 official albums, a mixture of his pop star and creative albums. But my top 10 remains open, because the 85-year-old is still capable of producing another album to challenge these 10. Let me know below if I missed out your favourite. Feel free to make your own top 10 Dion albums video. And don't forget to give me a like if you enjoyed this video.